I'd like to reconvene the meeting of the St. Mary's County Board of Education for Wednesday, November 5th, 2025. If we could all please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move approval of the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we will jump right in with the superintendent and student member reports.
All right, as we skipped over a board meeting 2 weeks ago, there's a little bit in the superintendent's update because everybody in St. Mary's County has been so incredibly busy. First, administrative staff surprised me at A&S with a secret spirit day where everybody was wearing orange. It was kind of fun. Moakley Street wore pink in support of mammography, sound like Awareness Day. The school calendar committee met, and the survey was out for the last 2 weeks in October 20th through the 31st. Again, when we send out a survey, we do get responses. So over 3,000 respondents. Again, we're talking about what are the priorities for the community? What should the board be considering when approving a calendar? The starting days, holidays, breaks, early dismissal, late arrival, things such as that. There is a calendar committee meeting coming up next week, which will be looking at all the survey results. This comes then before you for first reading in January, and it'll be for a 2-year calendar. January 21st will be the public hearing, so the public can come out and tell us what they think of the calendar. And then February 4th, considering all that information, we would then take action so that people can plan accordingly for the 26, 27, 28 school year. Oh. So moving on to kids. Slowly. Spotlight on students. We had in the early part of October through the mid-October on the 14th and 16th, we had Farm to School, incredible events. Mrs. Washington, I know that I saw you there. Several other board members. Mrs. Andrews, I think I saw you there as well. A great opportunity for kids to see where their food comes from and where the healthiest food comes from. So locally grown vegetables and locally sourced meat did a beautiful job. And so just thank you very much for everybody that comes together to have that opportunity happen for our children. And we move it across the county each year, so each school gets an opportunity. I had the great opportunity to go to Miss Sobochinsky's 4th grade class up at Letty Marshall Dent. We've been doing this, she and I, for years and years and years. She provides me with a book. I come in and read to her kids. Before she was teaching 3rd grade, these 4th grade kids, they were fantastic at Letty Marshall Dent. And they grilled me on, what it means to be a superintendent. What's my favorite ice cream? Just a little bit of everything. But a really beautiful book about each one of us, our fantastic special spark, and how we should fully realize the greatness that's in each one of us. It's very cute. The STEAM Festival was on October 25th over at the fairgrounds. An incredible opportunity. 24 exhibitors. More than 300 kids attending. There's a picture of our supervisor, Mr. Hayes, with Stella, the spider, black widow spider. I don't know, whatever. Big, beautiful spider, and he was so brave as to actually hold it. At that same time, across the street, the James A. Forrest Current Technology Center had an industry showcase where all of our students were given a glimpse into all of the different employment pathways, professional pathways that are available to them, and how the Forrest Center is preparing them for that professional pathway. A really great job, and obviously you can see that was very well attended. So there are a lot of things going on October 25th. On to athletics. Oh my goodness, Chopticon High School, the SMAC Conference Boys Cross Country Champions. Congratulations. The Leonardtown volleyball team was the SMAC Conference Volleyball Champions. The Chopticon Boys Soccer Beyond SMAC 3A Regional Champions. Fantastic. The Chopticon Girls Soccer 3A Regional Championship. So I go SMAC, then Regional. Chopscon Field Hockey 3A regional champions. I mean, this fall sports season has just been incredible for the talent of our athletes and the dedication of what they're doing and the coaching staff. Leonardtown girls soccer are the SMAC Conference and 4A regional girls soccer champs. The Leonardtown girls cross country are the SMAC Conference and 4A regional girls cross country champion. And you'll see those are different because some of our schools are 3A and some of our schools are 4A because one of our schools has 1,500 kids and one of our schools has 2,000 kids. So that's why we have so many SMAC Conference and regional champions. Leonardtown Field Hockey, SMAC Conference, and 4A Regional Field Hockey Champions. Leonardtown Boys Soccer, SMAC Conference, and 4A Regional Boys Soccer Champions, and they still in the hunt?
They're still in the hunt
Yeah, they're still in the hunt.
this Friday or Saturday.
Saturday. And so rounding out all of our fantastic opportunities to see our kids perform in the fall, recognizing that the kids on the fields athletics, there's also that same level of incredible commitment and dedication and attention to precision. Our bands, our 3 high school bands are fantastic. Chopticon High School won the 1A state championship and they tied with Northern High School, whatever. Fine, we still win. And Leonardtown Group 3 Open State champions. So our kids are really exceeding. So that's fantastic. So if you've gone to athletics and enjoyed that, and they're fantastic, and you've seen our kids perform in the stadium and play their instruments with precision and skill and craft, fantastic. Oh, but now we're coming into the fall high school play season, and it is going to be a great season. So starting this weekend, Chopscon High School has Peter and the Starcatcher. And then the next weekend, you have Great Mills High School doing Clue. And then we have Thanksgiving. Enjoy your family. Good times. That'll be fun. But then when you come back in December, Shakespeare in Love at Leonardtown High School. Our high school plays, our middle school plays, our elementary plays, these are really fantastic showcasing of the talents of our kids. High school, that's as good as you're going to get pretty much anywhere around here. They're a lot of fun. And so I'll be there on Thursday night. I think I have several people that are going to be going with me. Mrs. Bailey, we're going to be there. Yeah, great. My favorite thing is to either go on opening night or their very last performance on Sunday. The anticipation of the opening night is really great, and the joy at the end of their run, and also sadness because after all that work, they're done. I think those are some of the most fun times to see a play. Just a really, there's a lot of words on this page, but we just want to reinforce with everybody that the nutritional program, free and reduced meals programs and SNAP and things like that in St. Mary's County, regardless of the uncertainty at the federal level, we continue to provide free and reduced meals to the students who are eligible. We continue to process free and reduced meals applications for the students for the families that do so apply. So that will continue, including the Maryland Meals for Achievement as well at Green Hollow. So we're moving forward with all that, and we hope that everybody comes to a conclusion and we make decisions that are good for everybody coming forward. But as of right now in November, we're fine in St. Mary's County. So. Here we are in November. We are going through a regular week this week. Next week, we are here on Monday. Please come to school on Monday. Please come to school on Monday. Please come to employees. Please come to work on Monday. I know that you'll be looking at that point, 4-day weekend. But that Monday is important that we're all here. There's going to be great work that goes on. And at the end of the day, we then can orient ourselves to celebrate and recognize Veterans Day on Tuesday, the 11th. No school and offices will be closed on the 11th. It's a 2-hour early release for professional responsibilities at the end of the day, but that's great. That gives you time to go home and get ready to go see Clue at Great Mills High School. We have our evening Board of Ed meeting is on the 19th. I did not put on here, but will be referenced. The 12th, 13th, and 14th will also be our community forum number 2 for redistricting. And then after that, we are here Monday and Tuesday, and then we go into Thanksgiving break.
And Saturday the 15th is winter sports tryouts.
It starts the winter sports season. Yes. All right. And with that, Miss Vanessa Lee.
Hi, everyone. Sorry for sounding a little sick. I am getting over a cold, so just bear with me. But so recently I presented the SMOB updates and also redistricting information at our October St. Mary's Association of Student Councils General Assembly. So I got to see and meet so many middle schoolers and high schoolers from different parts of the county, and that was so exciting to see them there. And then I also recently attended our calendar committee meeting. So we got to discuss the different types of versions that we would see for the next couple of years, and I got to provide my input on that, so that was also super informative. And while my other board members were at MAVE, I was at Capitol Hill advocating with the state student government, the Maryland Association of Student Councils, for our federal advocacy day. And so the bill that I specifically researched and testified and lobbied for was the Save Your Pact bill. So that one essentially provides more funding for lower income students and students with disabilities, especially in our more rural counties. And so I was really excited to advocate for that bill. We also had our first Slack meeting last Thursday, and that was really fun. I got to meet so many of my friends from the other schools. We're preparing for our Slack steering committee meetings in the next couple months. And we had a great talk about redistricting, the cell phone policy, and just making sure that we're having the conversations at the countywide level that we're bringing back to our schools. And so I know for Leonardtown in particular, like right after our Slack meeting, we went to our principal. We discussed things like mental health, and other issues, and we actually got our school psychologist to work on a mental health like Monday Minute for our LTV, like our journalism program. And so we're really excited to implement more mental health resources and awareness for that. I also recently held a meeting with Governor Westmore's legislative team to discuss Maryland's cell phone policies. And so in this meeting, I was with the student member of the boards and other student advocates from Wycomico County, Baltimore, kids from all over the state, and we got to talk about what worked for our counties and what worked for theirs. And so I was really excited to like announce that St. Mary's, like, we were one of the first counties to implement this policy. We really saw good results. We were doing great, and we didn't even have to like buy like those cell phone pouches to like give to our students. Like, we really found success in just trusting our students by putting away their cell phones. And so I talked about that with Governor Westmore's team, and I got to also hear about the other kids from the other counties and what works for them and what kind of policies that they were implementing over there. And then recently on Monday, I filmed our SMOB monthly minute for November, and in this one, I discussed mental health and talked about the events that are coming up. So on today, actually, there's going to be a virtual workshop with Dr. Crystal Lewis on youth mental health. So I encourage any students to register for that. And then we also have a couple more events that are coming up. So if you guys are interested, I encourage you to watch our monthly minute video. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you very much. And Slack, Miss Lee, you did a lovely job organizing Slack, and what a great group of kids, and what great conversations we had about redistricting. And one of the things we emphasized more than anything else was their voice at the table is incredibly important. So we're hoping that high school students heard that message, went back to their high schools, and have registered for the community forum number 2 in the south, central, and northern part of the county, because we really need them to tell the adults what's really going on in their lives and in their high schools. So we listen, empower, aspire, deliver. Thank you very much.
All right. Today we have one recognition, our School Psychology Awareness Week. I see Ms. Weaver and Ms. Fox in the back.
Good morning.
Good
I'm Kate Weaver, Supervisor, Student Services. It is my pleasure today to join you in recognizing our school psychs during National School Psych Week, which is this week, November 3rd through the 7th. I am joined by Ashley Fox, our department chair. This week celebrates the essential contributions of school psychs and their roles in helping students thrive at school, at home, and in life. This year's theme, Finding Your Path, highlights our school psychs helping others discover their own routes to grow and well-being through consultation, collaboration, and evidence-based practices. I'll now turn it over to Ashley to recognize our incredible team.
Thank you, Kate. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to highlight the important work of school psychology and our talented team. We currently have 16 dedicated professionals, 13 full-time school psychologists, 1 virtual school psychologist, 2 substitutes, and a virtual school psychologist paraeducator. We are also currently recruiting for an intern for the 26-27 school year. The internship pathway has brought several of our current talented members to SMCPS. Our school psychologists bring diverse experiences and a shared passion for supporting students. Most know us for our work completing psychological evaluations, which is a key component of our work. Our team also provides consultation, professional development, crisis response, and direct support to students and staff. Our school psychologists work diligently, sometimes behind the scenes, to empower others to help every student find their path. It's truly an honor to serve our community.
At this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Smith up to read our resolution.
Everybody shift.
Yes, the shuffle.
Okay. Do not unplug any wires. Whereas the week of November 3rd through the 7th, 2025 has been designated as National School Psychology Week in school systems across our nation, and whereas children and youth learn best when they are healthy, supported, and receive an education that enables them to thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. And whereas schools can more effectively ensure that all students can learn when they meet the needs of the whole child and provide integrated, multi-tiered supports. And whereas school psychologists are specially trained to help parents and educators identify and reduce risk factors, create effective caring schools, access helpful community resources, and implement research-driven prevention and intervention strategies to foster healthy child development and academic success. And whereas the Board of Education in St. Mary's County recognizes the important role that school psychologists play in the personal and academic development of our children. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of St. Mary's County recognizes November 3rd through the 7th, 2025 as School Psychology Week in St. Mary's County Public Schools, and all staff and students are encouraged to recognize this event and participate in its observance. How wonderful that before you even came up, we heard from our student member of the board who has aligned the student member of the board, the SMOB Monthly Minute, to talk about the importance of all of us making sure that we are doing things that keep us mentally and socially healthy. So just thank you very much for all that you do. I love the finding your path. It aligns to exactly so much of our work. Let's have Ashley, you in the middle. How about if you hold this? And then, do we have somebody to take a picture? Do we have an official? If not, we're going to have to call on J.R. Beavers or we got to tweet it out. Are you up for the task? Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, Miss Williams.
I'll stand down the professional.
Yes, that's.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lovely.
All right. As everyone is finding their seats, we have no public hearing. Do we have any public comment? All right. Then may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Today's consent agenda consisted of the approval of minutes of October 8th, 2025, personnel teachers, personnel administrative and supervisory, Specialized Education of Maryland, Inc., additional in-district services, and ITB SMCPS 2026 MSRS snow removal services.
Let there be snow.
Yes,
Let
please.
there be snow.
With that, I move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have no action items today. We have 2 informational items. Our standing informational item, the facility utilization and school study update with Mr. Watson and Ms. Howe.
Hospice.
Good morning, everyone. This Hal pulls up the PowerPoint here, hopefully. Yes.
Nice.
We're becoming the veterans of this.
Yes.
So we are here this morning just to, obviously to present on redistricting update. We've been fairly busy over the last few months here, month and a half, with lots of public events. And we will give you a little bit of an update from our last community engagement event on October 28th at Leonardtown High School, and we'll preview a little bit our upcoming events next week of our community forum number 2s. So I'll turn it over to Kim.
So this is the timeline that we have been utilizing as part of our process, and it'll show you that where we're at is about a third of the way through. We just did on the 28th hold the community forum, frequently asked questions. As we move and transition, Mr. Watson will talk about our next steps, which is going to be next week, which is an important piece of this. It is moving along in a way where we're getting a lot of community engagement, and that's the important part of this process. Last week, we held the community engagement, frequently asked questions. We answered questions in about 19 different categories. The information was collected from the 3,000 surveys that we received, comments that we received through emails, and participation at other events. It was one of the most broadly covered presentations that I think we have done in our careers. We answered every question that we could possibly answer, 19 categories, multiple questions within those categories. Anything covered for what is the status of where we are? What are the proposed plans? Why is it happening? A lot of information about our data, not just relative to what we're currently talking about in terms of the plans, but enrollment projection modeling, school capacity, new school construction. Why haven't we built new schools? We talked a lot about engagement opportunities and housing and growth, our buildings and the programs that are housed within those, extracurricular activities and feeder patterns, transportations, waivers and grandfathering, daycare, school choice, financial, and then just data that we're utilizing. Panel did a great job of answering all those questions. We greatly appreciate them. And at the conclusion, we were gathering questions from the community that was present at the meeting, and Dr. Smith answered probably about another 10 to 15 questions from the audience that night. Those questions are currently being finalized into presentation mode in a slide deck, and we will put that up as an addendum to the presentation that we did so that those questions are out there for everyone to read as well. When we talk about engagement, we always direct everyone to our website. That is where all of the source of the current information is at. The recording of the 28th event has been added to smcps.org/redistricting. The questions, the slide deck is there. We'll add the addendum. But most importantly, we wanted to make sure that it was easy to find. So we did pull that off of its own, and made it its own tab. So now there are 5 tabs at the top, being those frequently asked questions. We will continue to add information as we go on. And the best way we want people to keep communicating with us, the best way to do that is through our dedicated email, redistricting@smcps.org. We do get quite a few questions, and it is our attempt, as long as it's not on a weekend, to answer within 24 to 36 hours to answer all of the emails that we're getting.
So that brings us to next week. Next week is community forum number 2, and that's possible options. So we feel like that will be well attended. However, our registration has been slow. So we do have some information to share tonight. We've been communicating this on our website, through our s'mores, through social media as well. We have 2 sessions scheduled, each on November 12th at George Washington Carver, November 13th at Chaptacon High School, and November 14th at the Forest Center. 2 sessions each, starting at 4 o'clock, and then the second session at 7 o'clock. We do have, like as I mentioned before, our registration has been slow. We have communicated that if registration does not meet certain numbers, that we will condense into 1 session at these locations, or potentially a combination thereof. For instance, if we have huge numbers at Chaptacon High School, we'll still run 2 sessions, but if we have low numbers at the Tech Center, then we'll only run 1 session. So if we do that, we will communicate that on Friday. Registration closes this Friday at 4 o'clock, so please, if you have not registered and plan to attend, we ask that you register by Friday at 4 o'clock. So we will communicate. We will send, when you register, you have to provide an email address. So we will email everyone Friday evening, again on Monday, probably again on Wednesday for the Thursday and Friday events. As much as possibly can, we will put out information on social media as well if we do condensed sessions. So that session time will be 5 o'clock p.m. if we do condensed sessions at one of those 3 locations. We currently have, by location, for session 1 at George Washington Carver, we have 55 people who have registered. Session 2, we have 27. So the 4 o'clock option seems to be the better option for folks at this point at Carver, and that carries through. At Chopticon, 44 registered for the 4 o'clock session and 29 registered for the 7 o'clock session. And at the Tech Center, 85 for the 4 o'clock session and 35 for the 7 o'clock session. So if we get no more people to register for these events, we will combine all 3 into one session at 5 o'clock. But again, you have till 4 o'clock on Friday to register. If you plan to attend, please do so.
The important piece to remember about this particular community forum engagement, Canon will be here presenting plans for potential or possible options. And then it will be an interactive. The participants will be engaging with Canon about the individual components of each plan.
Yep. Following the community survey, following the community forum number 2, there will be another survey. This survey will be open on November 17th and will run through December 5th. This survey will be specific to possible options that were presented during the 3 nights next week. So the survey number 2 will be specific to all of those options, and we will get community feedback on those options that were presented. So again, we are asking everyone again to register. Please register by 4 o'clock on Friday, and then keep in mind that after next Friday, that following Monday is when that survey will be open, and we will communicate that survey in a variety of ways, as we have been doing everything with redistricting. We'll probably, I'm assuming we'll have a press release for the survey. We'll put it out on social media. It'll be on our website. It'll be in the principal s'mores, et cetera, et cetera. Which leads us to our last slide, which is how we have engaged the community and where you can find information. So essentially, again, what we would like everyone to do is go to our website. That is where you can find the most up-to-date and accurate information. As you can see, we have 60,000 interactions on our social media. So people are reading, responding, forwarding, commenting on our social media, Facebook and other social media platforms. We have 20,000 plus hits on our website, 3,500 plus hits on our redistricting s'more. So people are getting this information. We will remind people after next week, since we have 3 sessions with the same information at all 3 sessions, there may be folks that post information after Wednesday night. Again, that information may or may not be accurate, fully accurate. So we ask people to wait until the end of the 3 events where we will post the most up-to-date information, PowerPoints, materials that folks can look at. So again, please refer to our information for the most up-to-date and accurate information.
I would like to so we have the community forums next week, where and up to this point the board has been active in selecting Canon, but the board hasn't been involved other than participating in the community forums, just like everybody else is, being there for the information, just like everybody else is. What's going to be presented next week is the Canon group has taken all of the data that we've provided, what the community has said is a priority. And the community has said things like, we want our kids to go to the school closest to where they live. We want our children to move en masse from one elementary to one middle school, and to the greatest extent possible, have that group in cohort go up to high school, although we recognize 4 middle schools to 3 high schools. So they've built proposals based on what the community has said they want. The board hasn't provided any explicit, kind of a really explicit direction. Following the forums next week, we have an evening board meeting. I would imagine we might have people come out and share what their thoughts are. The next board meeting is December 10th, a day board meeting. At that board meeting, we will have a board work session where we will take all the information from Community Forum 1, Community Forum 2, all the feedback to date, talk about what the initial proposals from Canon Design were, and the board will then set a couple of guiding principles, priorities, so that as we go away and do our work for the remainder of December before we come back with some pretty polished final proposals in January, it's going to be aligned with what the board's expectation is of this process. I say that only because I have had a preview of some of the proposals. And recognizing when parents say, I want my children attending the closest elementary school, and I want them to move as a cohort group from elementary to middle, from middle to high, to meet that expectation, there needs to be a lot of adjustments across a very long and wide county. And I think when people see what it will take to enact that preference, they might say, maybe that's not our preference anymore. So this is a process. Certainly things are going to be presented. People are going to go way up here again, and then we're going to have to come back down and say, right, you can't make a decision unless you consider all the information. And then once considering all the information, we'll move it down. So for anybody that goes next week and starts thinking that any one of those things is a be all done deal, whatever, please know that we'll be having a work session on that December 10th to go through where we are, to kind of dipstick and perception check and have the board give their priorities to date, so that when we go back and we do our work, it's very purposeful throughout December and into January, so that when we present, we're really giving a thorough presentation.
Right, because the presentations, can you go back one slide, please? Oh, or not.
Sorry.
That's okay. But the quote, I killed mine on my thing. The quote that you had right here at the bottom, right, that, that they believe in planning with the community, not just for it. I think very appropriate
Yes.
to end the presentation. But this is what the Canon Group did, is that they were, I would use the words, completely objective, and
Yes.
almost to the
Oh.
point of being
Independent.
sterile.
Yes, they are independent.
Independent
Of
analysis.
right, of taking all of the data that we gave them and what was in there. So I don't want anyone to hit the roof, but I'm sure they will. But it is not the end all be all.
No.
Because we still have just everyone, I'm going to refer to everyone to the little blue box at the bottom,
Yes.
right? That there is still, the St. Mary's County input that has to be loaded into all of the proposals, and that is what has not happened yet.
Yes,
And
that's
what
and that's
CF2
the
is about.
that's the next
Right,
part of it.
exactly.
Right, you have to
So-
gather all of that before you can
Right.
then put the mother county, St. Mary's
Exactly.
County.
We need to put our flair onto
Yes.
it, so to speak.
So
Yes.
the goal of Canon, as defined in the RFP, was to come up with their professional recommendations first.
Correct.
And that is based on the analysis that they did. So that originally, when they first got the contract, they asked for all of our data. They did their analysis, just looking at independent. Then we had guiding principles 1, which was when the community started
From
to
our
say,
community.
once you look at all of this data and the goals that were requested for facility utilization, we want you to think about this. So then they refined that. There was the survey and the meeting, and they refined their proposal, possible plans to bring now to community forum number 2, where this is what we heard. Now, what do you think? This is what it looks like. And then it will continue to be refined
Yes.
based on that input to get to ultimately a recommendation that the board has the opportunity to change. And there will be interaction and dialogue with that. Also be the public hearing, where they'll
Yes.
have additional opportunity for input.
And Dr. Smith outlined kind of that process, that timeline at our October 28th event.
Right,
So
exactly.
February, Canon will be before you, presenting in the first board meeting
I
in
was at a
February.
soccer game,
Yep.
so I understand.
And then February, the
All of
second,
the board members were there, but we totally
Yeah.
understood, and it was quite
It was
momentous and
epic.
incredible, and
Yeah.
definitely making a lifelong memory.
Yes,
so long-term, February and March, right? February is Canon, first board meeting, public hearing, second board meeting, February 18th, I think is the date.
Yes.
And then Canon will present again based on public comment hearing at that
exactly.
point in March. And then Kim and I will present at the end of March, the second board meeting of March for action at that point.
The final recommendation.
But if anybody thinks that this Board of Education isn't going to put their as you put it, flair on it before we get too far down a path. So that work session in December is going to be, I think, is going to be really informative, and
Right.
we'll make sure we have all the materials there. And again, this will yield another video that we put up for those people that are following along. Perhaps if they don't have direct engagement with a child, they might just be very interested in how this is all playing out.
Right.
And the big thing that we hope is that we really have a lot of high school kids at those forums, because honestly, the insight of high school kids when you're talking about high school, that's the most important voice at the table. So, very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
All right.
I just wanted to say, so I had a discussion with our Slack members, so our superintendent student leadership advisory council, and a couple of our kids from my principal's advisory council back at Leonardtown. And one big disconnect that they were feeling with not attending these community forums is what they could provide, because a lot of them felt that they didn't have the knowledge or the expertise or even the worthiness to come to these events. And so one thing that I did with my principal is we created a little blurb from the student perspective on, one, why their voices were so important in coming to these events, and two, what they should expect to see. So I basically just lined out you should expect to have some interactive activities with other people from other community members and parents and teachers, and not something that's super high stake. So when I clarified that to some students, I think that helped take away that gap of knowledge. So I think I encourage the other students from the other high schools to send out a blurb to their students as well, or we can even put it in the redistricting s'more to have more students come to these events.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Very nice.
Okay.
Thank you, Vanessa.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
And the report card.
Just unembargoed yesterday.
Yeah.
Look at that. Okay, let's see. Sorry. Where's the mouse?
So close.
That the right one?
That's it.
That's it. You got it. Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm Katie Quartercracks, Chief Academic Officer, and I'm joined by Donna Thorstensen, Director of Accountability and Reporting. And we are here today to present to you the annual Maryland School Report Card as it relates to St. Mary's County Public Schools. While Donna and I will be presenting, we do want to acknowledge that Tammy Burr and Stephanie Stone did prepare this presentation for us. So we want to give them a shout out. And also, I don't know if you watched the State Board of Ed meeting yesterday, but this information was shared with them yesterday, meaning the embargo was lifted yesterday, allowing us to share it with you today.
In other words, this is hot off the presses.
It's hot off the press.
So because this is relatively new information, we're just going to give you a brief overview of the data that was shared yesterday, and give you some information on how to access more specific data related to specific schools. So the URL you're going to want to visit is mdreportcard.org, and it is linked right up there on this screen. If you look at the graphic on the right-hand side, you can see our total enrollment from last year, 16,905 students. Our attendance rate was 91.9%, and information related to the graduation rate has not been released yet, so that's why you see an NA there. And then the other graphic on the left-hand side, kind of towards the bottom there, you can look at the information as a whole, how we did as a whole state, and then you can get a little more specific by looking at our district data, and that's that graphic in the middle there, where you select a county, and obviously you just select St. Mary's County for us, or you can look at it at a specific level for your school. So there's a box where you can enter, you can start typing the name of the school, and it will populate that school.
Okay, the Maryland Report Card is essentially an accountability system for our district as a whole and for our individual schools as well. Like Donna said, we're not going to get far into the weeds, but we did want to give you a general overview of what this accountability system entails. So the report card is comprised of a variety of indicators, which you see in the left-hand column. In the middle column, you'll see that these indicators vary by level. E stands for elementary, and middle, H high.
And the column on the right represents the various measures used to calculate the score for each indicator. So if you look at the top row, you'll see that the academic achievement is an indicator used for all 3 levels, and success is measured using MCAP composite scores and proficiency percentages to determine the points awarded for that particular indicator. Another indicator that's used across all 3 levels is the school quality and student success. And to quantify this, the state looks at the school's rates of chronic absenteeism, the surveys that are taken by the students and the staff, as well as students' access to a well-rounded curriculum. If you skip down to the graduation rate row, you'll see that that only applies to high school, to the high school level. And that is calculated by the percent of students who earn a Maryland high school diploma in 4 years or 5 years. If you are interested in seeing how each of these individual measures is calculated, there is a 34-page PDF titled Guide to Understanding Your Maryland School Report Card that's available online. Just throwing that out there. Okay, so we're going to talk about how those stars are awarded at this point. So what the state does is they award a number of points to the school, and then points are earned by a school, and then it's divided by the number of points possible, and that yields a percentage. And then that percentage then translate over to a star rating. And you can see through the table that's on the right-hand side of the screen here how those points or how those stars are awarded. So anyone that scores that earns 75% or greater, they're going to be your 5-star schools, and so on there. These thresholds are firm. They don't do any rounding. So for example, we had a school that really rocked it this year, or last year. Our friends over at Evergreen, I want to give them a quick shout out. They increased their report card score from 67.8% in 2024 to 74.9 in 2025, which is awesome, missing that 5-star score by 1/10 of a percentage point. So, you know, they were so close. I did want to recognize their hard work, though. So, way to go, Retrievers.
Yeah.
So here you'll see a sample elementary school report card provided by MSDE. This is what you'll see when you log on to mdreportcard.org. You can see that the sample school earned 4 stars because they earned 51 out of the possible 85 points, which equates to a 60%. And that 60% falls in the 4-star range, which is between a 60% and a 74.9%.
So if that doesn't make sense to you, that's okay. It doesn't make any sense. You have points arbitrarily determined for ratings. They go down into, and schools can have different numerators, right? Denominators. Denominators, and they earn numerators. So some schools have a possibility of 100 points. Some schools only have 85 points. Some schools might have less than that. If you had less than that, then everything carries with it a greater weight. That's not accounted for. And then ultimately it's turned into a percent, which isn't rounded, which then is turned into a star. And most people would think that a 5-star means an A. So you'd have like 90% and above. Oh no, a 5-star is a 75%. Why is it a 75%? We don't know. They've never really talked about why 75%, and Evergreen Elementary School's 74.9% isn't close enough. We also have a 2-star school. The 2-star school at Spring Ridge, to be a 3-star school, needed 45%. And they have a 44.8%. So they missed being a 3-star school by 0.2%.
Thank
Good
you.
times. They are redoing this. This is Carrie Wright inherited this from Mr. Chowdhury, who inherited this from Dr. Salmon, who inherited what was started by Dr. Lowry. So if it seems like it's a muddled mess of spaghetti, there you go.
I was impressed by all that math, Dr. Smith.
It's not math. I mean, it's Scott math, which is the
It's
most,
like Scott math.
don't listen to Scott math.
It's like Scott math.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so looking at this graphic here, this shows you some longitudinal data. The yellow columns will show you how we've done as a state historically over the past 4 years, and then as a system over the past 4 years. We did have one school that dropped from a 5 to a 4, and that is just related to growth. When you have phenomenal growth in 1 year, it's hard to maintain that. So they did drop to a 4, still doing great. We did increase the number of 4-star schools from 11 to 13, so some positive movement in that direction. And then, as Dr. Smith mentioned, we did have 1 2-star school. They just barely missed that mark for being a 3-star school.
And before we leave this, so one of the things, if you go back 2 slides, one of the things that's driving, go back again. Okay. One of these huge drivers of the points that a school earns is chronic absenteeism. So if a child is present less than 90%, 89.9%, they're chronically absent. Boom. Chronic absenteeism at the school level is worth 15 total points, and the 15 total points can be worth more than 15 if your denominator is not 100. It could be your denominator might be 70, but chronic absenteeism is calculated for every single one of the schools. Let's see, just as an example, Spring Ridge Middle School, out of a possible 15 points for chronic absenteeism, they only received 3. So they could have received 12 more points if they had a better chronically absenteeism score. So you're like, oh my gosh, kids just aren't going to school at Spring Ridge Middle School. Well, Spring Ridge Middle School, the average daily attendance is 90.5%. So the school's average daily attendance is 90.5%, and yet they're only getting 3 points out of 15 because chronic absenteeism is the measure. That's broken. You should be evaluating a school based on average daily attendance, which is all the kids, how often do they come. The state of Maryland has a 91.9% average daily attendance. St. Mary's County has a 91.9% average daily attendance.
So why isn't that full value?
And yet you would think that no kids ever go to school. They're like, whatever the percentage is, chronically absent kids are like, whatever, the world's coming to an end. No kids are going to school. The average daily attendance is 91%, 92%. Do you know what that's been over the last 30 years? About the same. So all these people running around clutching pearls, throwing themselves down and, like lamenting the fact that no kids are coming to school, it's only because the federal government created a new way to look at attendance, and they said anybody who's absent more than 10% is chronically absent. And Maryland, of course, jumped right on board with that. And that suddenly became the be-all, end-all, which means that if your child misses 2 days per month, they are chronically absent. So if your kid gets sick for 3 days in November, they're chronically absent. I don't know. I just struggle with all of it. And I'm glad that they're revising the accountability system. I can tell you that our buildings, they work really hard. They work really hard on achievement, progress, quality, we work really, really hard. And we find ourselves up against a metric that's convoluted
At best.
At best. That's the most gracious way to describe this thing. And the fact that Spring Ridge went down to 2 stars, and it's because of that, and yet their attendance actually ticked up a little. It was 90.3, now it's 90.5, and that's not set the world on fire, but that means that on any given day, 90% of all the kids are supposed to be there are there, and they got doinked 12 points. So-
you just jumped over many of the slides on chronic absenteeism. So
Yeah.
you're stealing their thunder.
Yeah,
Nice.
there you go. Well,
It's a good preview.
there you go.
Foreshadowing.
So
Yeah.
that survey is the survey that goes to
That's
the
next. Okay.
students.
Oh,
Okay.
that
Okay.
yes.
Stop.
Okay, I'll
let
wait.
let
We'll
them
get to
finish.
it.
Yes. because I don't want
I'm
somebody
losing control.
because I don't want to have somebody perseverate on the thing and be like, we have a 2-star school. I want them to understand that 2-star school is a 2-star school because of chronic absenteeism, and chronic absenteeism is just a way of looking at it. But the average daily attendance is 90.5%.
It's
I
an
think the-
artificial metric.
I think
It's-
the overall takeaway is we understand that the state has to have some type of metric for the stars. However, the stars are not representative of all of the work and the entire school community and everything that happens within the school building on a daily, weekly, monthly, or school year basis. Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
So appreciate the stars, right? But we think that they're flawed. So keep rolling. But
Agreed.
not to take away from the people that get 4 or 5, 3 stars,
Right.
whatever.
Oh no. I mean
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's exceptionally.
But
you know.
Still,
yes.
for the people who do not achieve that, it does not mean that those people in those buildings care any less or do anything less for the students or the staff or any of the needs of the bodies in those schools. Okay. There we go.
Moving on.
I'll bring us back together.
Okay. This slide shows you how SMCPS elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools performed in the aggregate, like on average. You'll notice that the scores are fairly consistent across all levels in the academic achievement indicator. But I do want to draw your attention to the next one, the academic progress, because academic progress is only measured on the elementary and the middle school report card. For high schools, they measure that through the graduation rate and the readiness for post-secondary success.
Yeah.
So Tammy and Stephanie, in order to make the graph readable and succinct, they just stuck that measure there. That's why there's that big differential, the 91.2%. We're not comparing apples to apples there. The bottom row is their overall average for the 3 different levels. And you'll notice that our high schools missed a 4-star average rating by 1/10 of a percentage point as well. Just throwing it.
Hold back, Scott. Hold back.
Just saying, in St. Mary's County, we also round. We round.
As does
And-
every school
And
system.
Round up.
89.5 is an A. It can be argued academically, but we do round.
As does every school system in the state. Okay. School survey. This is Dorothy. Here you go. Pay attention.
Here we
Right
go.
to you.
Okay, so every year we do administer a school survey to both educators and students. That happens sometime between February and April. And there are 10 points that are available for the school survey. They do take a look at 4 different areas: community, environment, relationships, and safety. So you can see what you would see if you did go to that Maryland Report Card website, a breakdown of school quality and student success, those survey results. The student survey is worth 7 points, and the educator survey is worth 3 points. So that's where they get the total of 10 points.
And if you roll that with chronically absent, that's 25 points, which is a quarter of all the value of that rating is based on whether or not your kids were there 90% of the time and what students and staff
Say.
said on a survey. Okay.
All right, here's your slide, Dr. Smith.
Yes.
As we've discussed, chronic absenteeism is another point that factors
Discussed,
into the
discussed.
category
Yeah.
of school quality and student success. The students not chronically absent category is worth 0 to 15 points. And just to put that in perspective, like the growth measurement in elementary and middle, that's worth 12.5 points for ELA, 12.5 points for math. So the chronic absent attendance is weighted more heavily than basically everything else. And it does hit us hard, like our report card ratings demonstrate that. Chronic absenteeism reports the percent of students at each school who are absent at least 10% or more. And as Dr. Smith said, that's 18 days for a 180-day school year, or on average 2 days a month.
A student is counted as absent if he or she is not physically on school grounds and is not participating on instructionally related activities at an approved off-ground site. Chronically absent students include students who are absent for any reason. And this can include illness, it can include suspension, it can include taking care of a family member or death in the family. So if a student is not in a building, regardless if it's lawful or unlawful, they are absent.
That's more information. That was much better. I just previewed it a little bit, but then Ms. Kordekrax did a fantastic job.
Brought it all
running
together.
full around it. Yes, exactly.
And another slide about chronic absenteeism. This chart shows the trend data from school year 23 to 24 to 25. And because this measurement is presented as students not chronically absent, we do want to see high numbers, which is equivalent to taller bars in this graph. At elementary and high school, we are seeing a positive trend. And at middle school, we are our attendance is stagnant for our chronically absent students. To bring awareness to this important measure, the Department of Accountability and Reporting, Donna's department, they run attendance reports monthly, and they drill down on the data to offer principals and school-based teams information about which students are currently chronically absent, and that starts the first month of school. So if somebody's missed 2 days, we were getting reports saying, Dorothy and Karen, they've already been absent twice this month. So we are reaching out to those families and reaching out to students and trying to come up with a plan to make sure that you guys have access to school, to get to school.
Does it help? I mean,
It helps. You
seem
just
like
can't
it's-
tell in the report card rating.
Go back to the slide. Does it help? We've been doing this for the last 3 years, and does it help? A little. Like 1% at elementary, and middle's kind of stuck, and at the high school, 1.35%. I mean, the amount of work that all the teachers and support staff and counselors and psychologists and that we're all doing to move up this measure, when there are reasons why children are absent from school. There are reasons, and it doesn't look whether it's lawful or unlawful or illness related or what. It doesn't matter. So we're going to keep doing all the work that we're doing, because this is the single largest driver for why people aren't at the next level with the stars on NARS reporting. Most of these, if the chronically absent element was addressed and more successful, each one of them would move from 4 to 5, from 3 to 4, and from 2 to 3.
And I'll say, when we get those reports, we work with our PST teams, and our PPWs are a part of those teams. So last year at Duke Elementary, those reports were extremely helpful. And we came up with, it was like an attendance academy, but we didn't want to call it that. So we called it Mornings with Martin. And Miss Martin was one of our teachers that built great relationships with kids. So kids got to get off the bus and go straight to her room. And every day it was like a different activity before school started. And we provided them with a breakfast treat. And she tracked their attendance. So it made a big impact on individual students. You just don't necessarily see it in our report card reading. So next steps, this is our last slide. All schools have regular data meetings to track and review academic progress. Schools review attendance data monthly. We do that at staff meetings. We also do it at our MTSS meetings. Some schools conduct interim surveys of students and staff to monitor the climate and the culture of the building. Schools are intentionally focusing on targeted student groups to include special education, economically disadvantaged students, English language learners, and we do that through our school improvement plans. And lastly, high schools actively monitor the progress towards successful course completion with an emphasis of on-track 9th grade students. Schools have access to a Cognos report that they can run at any time of the year to see where their 9th graders are and whether or not they're on track to graduate. Questions?
I
Or
just wanted
comments?
to make a point. So just to reemphasize Dr. Smith's point, I went to Evergreen Elementary School when I was in elementary school, and then I went to Spring Ridge Middle School. And it never really came to my mind that there was a difference in the educational quality. I've seen phenomenal teachers the phenomenal staff here, our building service workers, our school maintenance, all that work together to make our schools what they are. And so I don't really believe that those stars are representative of the hard work that we put in. They don't credit the amount of effort that we do for our students. And so, coming from a student myself, for anyone watching, and hasn't been in those, who's been in those buildings not too long ago, that our schools are really doing a great job. And I don't want those star ratings to take away from the work that we do.
Great, thank you.
So we've talked a lot about chronic absenteeism, and to kind of bounce off what Superintendent Smith said, we take a school like Lexington Park last year, 63% not chronically absent. This year they had an improvement on that of 73% not chronically absent, and a marked improvement on their proficiency in math and reading. So I think that's important to highlight. And can you go back on the report card indicators? I noticed from elementary school to middle, there's quite a drop off. Is there a factor to consider and the reason for that?
Well, if you consider I guess you're looking at academic progress, particularly for a middle school, right? So
No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at English language proficiency from elementary to middle.
Well, if you look at our MCAP scores, that'll be the driver. And MCAP math scores in particular at middle school, that we have struggled. And when I say we, I'm talking about the state of Maryland, the creators of the test and the 900,000 kids who are taking the tests. Historically, that underperformance at middle school has dogged the entire MCAP history. I think that's one of the reasons why they're redoing all of the assessments after realigning all the standards, after requiring every single LEA to have a comprehensive math plan and a comprehensive ELA plan. So I think we're moving all those things in concert to address that dip in the middle. I am very hopeful that the assessments that they are creating for middle school in particular will be more closely aligned to the actual instructional standards and the ELA and literacy plans that each LEA has crafted, because there's a lot of challenges with the platform, with the administration, with the assessment items, with the machine learning, with the adaptive element of the test. They've just thrown so many things against the wall, and I think that the traditionalists in education would say, why aren't you giving a paper pencil test that has the same 30 questions asked of every student in the state of Maryland, and then you have comparative data?
I've been saying for 8 years.
Yes. So, but very good to your point.
Well, no. I mean,
because that is it.
The way I look at it is I question if that's really the middle number is really an accurate number, because I think that's such a large drop off that it doesn't even make a statistical sense here.
Right.
So I question then the MCAP test.
Yeah, when you're giving a test to every single 8th grader in the state of Maryland and your proficiency rate is 9% or whatever it was. So you gave a test that 92% of all children took in 8th grade and they weren't proficient. I don't think that's a question of whether or not you're teaching math properly. I think it's a question of whether you've created an assessment that actually determines whether or not there's mastery at the grade level it's supposed to have. So,
and mastery is different in middle school based on where they are slotted in their math courses, right? So,
Well, we're going to integrate Algebra 1 and 2,
right.
And that's going to be its own set of really there are a lot of things coming with regard to instruction and assessment, and then ultimately accountability.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Thorson's going to be very busy.
I don't have any questions, but I look forward to the new way that they will come up with.
Capturing.
Because I know everybody that's part of the staff, part of all that growing, how can we improve? It's working, so hats off to all of you, and thank you for all your hard work. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I said my piece.
Thank you for bringing this forward, and it was embargoed until last night, and I got an opportunity to look at some of it. And this is a valuable tool for parents or anybody who's interested to go to the Maryland Report Card. It has all 23 counties and Baltimore City for the state of Maryland. You can even go to the individual school and see what their results are on MCAP. And what's concerning to me is the chronic absenteeism. This slide 11, talks about students not chronically absent. But in elementary, even though 76.6 are not chronically absent, you have 24% who are chronically absent. That's a lot of students. And were you going to say something?
I was just at the end, yes.
Oh, so that makes it difficult for the teacher because students aren't there to learn. And also in middle school, 71% students are not chronically absent, but 29% are. That's major. And I know we're doing everything we can, and you gave an example of what a school did to get students to come, and it improved the attendance significantly. And also high school, 68%, but not chronically absent, but 32% are. That's a lot of students and a lot of money, effort, time, and energy, lesson planning, trying to meet the individual needs of the students, and the students are not there. That's not only St. Mary's, that's around the state of Maryland and the nation.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a problem in America with students coming to school. Also, I was concerned about the MCAP math scores. Math is the gatekeeper for a lot of professions. And I know everybody's doing everything they can, but that is concerning. That's almost a national security issue when we won't be having people who have the necessary math skills to perform scientific engineering, AI, computer technology, everything. So, it is some serious issues that we have, but I realize that everybody's doing everything that they can, and we need support from the parents to make sure the students get to school and on time, that they're ready, willing, and ready to learn. And math, that was eye-popping.
Yeah, I would like to go back to our presentation from a month ago where we talked about our PSAT, our SAT, and our AP scores,
Right.
which are higher than the state of Maryland and all national averages, as well as some of the highest levels of participation. So the question is the MCAP assessment flawed because our PSAT, SAT, and AP scores demonstrate that our kids are better prepared for college than they've ever been, and that almost half of all of our students graduated from high school have taken an AP course and completed it and scored a 3 or better, which is college level learning. More of our kids are enrolled in post-secondary and dual enrollment coursework, and they're doing really well. So the question is the assessment flawed? Because all of these nationally normed reference historical 4 decades worth of data demonstrate that our children are proficient in mathematics and ready for post-secondary pathways. Same thing with chronically absent. Yes, at high school, 32%, a little less than 32% of all kids are there less than 90% of their day. They might be there 89% of the time. They might be there 85% of the time. A high school senior is often outside of the classroom 2 days per month. That just kind of happens. If I put that high school average daily attendance is 91%, everybody would be like, oh, all right, well then, yeah. But if I put high school attendance is 68.3% here, but those not chronically. I mean, it's just a different way. It's just a different way of looking at this.
And I agree with what you say. And I thought about that. I said, how can our students be concurrently enrolled in college, being successful, doing great on SAT, ACT, And then the score.
MCAP algebra.
Right.
Right. They'll get a 2 or a 1 on MCAP algebra, and they'll get a 3 or 4 on
AP Calc.
calculus.
Right.
Which means that there's not something wrong with the child
Mm-hmm.
or their education. There's something wrong with the assessment.
Good point.
Well, the only other point I was going to make to the chronic absenteeism, Mary, to your point, I mean, I understand, but you have to go back to the definition. So if we all remember last year, how the flu went through like every single elementary school, I mean, and the absentee rate, across a week was huge. I mean, there were entire like classes
Right.
that had like 2 or 3 children in because everyone was sick. So that's not, you can't throw shade on, this, these people because I mean, like Father Andrew White, like actually closed their school for a day because they had so many kids that were sick. So that is what is not taken into account here, right? Same thing with high school, right? I mean, it's college season. How many kids are leaving to go on college visits? So do I want my son to go to a college visit, or do I want him to sit in class? And it's not like he's not going to make up the work, right? Or he's still not going to turn in those assignments. But he has a responsibility for what he wants to do. Or if a student leaves to go for an apprenticeship interview, right? That any of those things, all of those are
Doctor's appointment.
right, or a doctor's appointment. I mean, what doctor can fit you in before 7 a.m. and after 2:45, right? So all of those things are not
Marathon hell.
right.
And these numbers from 2023, 2024, and 2025. So what you say, maybe those same reasons
Right. I mean,
hold true.
we're going into flu season. Let's see. I mean, in elementary school, I mean, these kids are touching everything, right? Every book, every iPad, every shared computer station. I mean, it just is rampant. When one class goes down, you can see the domino effect. So
This year it's hand, foot, and mouth disease.
my
It's
goodness.
going
Right,
through
exactly.
At
So-
least
right,
the
don't
second,
don't
if
even
not
don't even
third
say it.
time.
Don't even
Right.
say it.
That certainly don't come back to
Right.
school.
Right. So
That's
all right, Kathy, do you have anything on this?
I think it's all been discussed. I think the students we see who are in the schools who are graduating are doing well, and they're showing it in a multitude of ways. The fact of the matter is we have to report out things as they are given to us. I just don't think they're reflective of what's truly going on in our schools. And I think that's a huge problem. And, the idea that to be absent 2 days a month, especially with the mental health issues that our students are facing, to say that that's chronically absent misses the point of taking care of our students.
well, everybody who works on base, right? Every other Friday is
CWS?
Yeah, they have CWS. They're all chronic. Did you know that they're all chronically absent?
It's a great
They are
point.
every single one of them. Their CWS makes them chronically absent.
Or they're just furloughed right now. So
Right. Well, I mean, I don't want to
So-
go too much into that, but that was, yeah.
Sore subject.
okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. With that, our next board meeting, as Dr. Smith alluded to in his presentation, Wednesday, November 19th, executive session at 5 and open meeting at 6. That we are adjourned.